Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into what might be the most fundamental skill any of us can have, the ability to think effectively. We're going to break down a really powerful framework from the book The 5 Elements of Effective Thinking, and it promises to change how you approach, well, pretty much everything. So let's kick things off with a huge question. Are geniuses born or are they made? We have this tendency to put brilliant thinkers on a pedestal, to think they're just wired differently from the rest of us. But what if that's not really the whole story?
It's funny. Even Albert Einstein himself wouldn't have called himself a born genius. He pointed to something else entirely, qualities that are totally learnable, like curiosity, obsession, and just good old-fashioned endurance. And that's the core idea for this entire explainer. Brilliant thinking isn't some gift you're handed at birth. It's a practice. It's a set of habits that literally anyone can build.
All right, so here's our roadmap. First, we're going to rethink our whole idea of what genius even is. Then we'll get into the 5 elements, and they're framed in a way that's super easy to remember. We'll start with earth for grounding ourselves, then fire to ignite ideas, air to create new questions, water to see how everything connects, and finally we'll wrap it all up with the most powerful element of all, change.
Okay, so the very first step is all about a mental shift. We're told our whole lives that thinking is the key to success, but think about it. Were you ever actually taught how to do it? We're just supposed to know? And this leads to this belief that, some people are just naturally good at it and the rest of us are out of luck.
And that's the real problem, isn't it? We put geniuses on this pedestal. We see their breakthroughs as these magical lightning strike moments, which makes their success feel totally out of reach for us mere mortals. We're so busy admiring the what that we completely miss the how.
So the solution is to stop admiring and start analyzing. To treat thinking less like some mysterious art and more like a skill you can practice. This framework gives us 5 concrete, practical habits that shift our focus from just sitting around waiting for inspiration to actively building it, piece by piece. Okay, let's dive into our first element, which is earth. Earth is all about building a rock-solid foundation by understanding things deeply. It's about getting really, truly grounded in the fundamentals. So this first element, earth, it tells us to fight that impulse to just jump in and tackle a huge, complex problem head-on. No, instead, we've got to go deeper into the basics. Before you can have that big breakthrough, you have to clear away all the clutter and really truly master the simple concepts that it's all built on. And Picasso's series of bull drawings? Oh, it's the perfect way to picture this. He didn't start with that simple line drawing you might know. Nope. He started with this incredibly detailed, realistic bull. Then, drawing after drawing, he started, stripping it down. He got rid of the shading, the muscle details, all the stuff that wasn't absolutely essential. And what was he left with? Just the pure, unmistakable essence of a bull. And that's exactly what we need to do with our ideas. Get rid of all the noise to find what's at the very core. So the main takeaway for Earth is crystal clear. Ground your thinking. Don't just skim the surface. You've got to go deep on the fundamentals, really sweat the small stuff, and just relentlessly clear away all the noise until you can see the essential idea with perfect clarity. Now, once you have that solid foundation from Earth, you're ready for our second element, fire. And fire is all about embracing one of the things we fear most, failure, and actually learning how to use it as fuel for your next great idea. Most of us, right, we're conditioned to avoid failure at all costs. But the fire element asks us to completely reframe that. A mistake isn't some judgment on your abilities. It's a spotlight. It's showing you exactly where the gaps in your understanding are and where you need to focus next. I mean, listen to Michael Jordan. His career wasn't about trying to avoid missing shots. It was about pushing through them. Every single failure is data. It's a flashing neon sign pointing you toward a better attempt next time. And the story of the Post-it note is just the perfect example of this. Dr. Spencer Silver completely failed at making a super strong glue. Instead, he made a really weak one. It was basically a useless answer. Until years later, when a colleague needed a bookmark that wouldn't damage his book. And suddenly, that wrong answer became the perfect solution to a totally different problem. So how do you actually practice this? You start embracing failure on purpose. Give yourself permission to write a truly terrible first draft. Just get the ideas out there. When you make a mistake, see it as data, not a defeat. And when you do fail, don't just get frustrated. Ask yourself this amazing question. What is the question to which this wrong answer is actually correct?
All right, on to our third element, air. Now think about it. Air is all around us, but it's invisible. The best ideas are kind of like that too, and it's the right questions that make those invisible ideas suddenly become visible. This is all about being your own Socrates.
So this brings us to air. And here's the thing, effective thinking isn't about having all the answers. It's about asking much better questions. The very act of just trying to form a question forces your brain to work in a totally new way. It makes you engage more deeply, it uncovers your hidden assumptions, and it carves out a clear path forward. And the quality of your questions? It changes everything. Look at this. An ineffective question like, how can I ace the test, is only focused on a short-term goal. But look at the effective one. How can I master this material so well that I could write the test? Whoa. See the difference? That question launches you into a process of deep understanding. It connects right back to earth and gets you ready for the fire of trial and error. Okay, so once you're asking the right questions, you can move on to our fourth element, which is water. And this is all about seeing the flow of ideas, realizing that no idea ever exists in a vacuum. Every single concept is just part of a much bigger river, with a history flowing behind it and a future streaming out in front of it. Just take a look at the evolution of the telephone. That smartphone in your pocket didn't just appear out of nowhere, right? It exists at the end of this long, flowing river of ideas, from Bell's very first wire through the age of rotary phones to those giant mobile bricks in the 80s. Understanding this flow is absolutely key. To really get a grasp on any idea, you have to look back at where it came from. And to create the next idea, you have to look forward and ask, okay, where is this river headed next? This quote just captures the spirit of water so perfectly. Every solution, every new idea, it's not the finish line, it's the starting line. It's the launch pad for the next big wave of innovation. And this brings us to the ultimate goal of all this. The first four elements, earth, fire, air, and water, they're not just a collection of cool tricks. They all combine to create the fifth, the quintessential element, change. The goal isn't just to do better thinking, it's to become a better thinker. This table really gets to the heart of what that change looks like. See, top performers aren't just trying harder at what we think of as the hard task. They've used these elements to transform the job into something completely different, and frankly, a lot easier. They've stopped just memorizing random facts and started understanding the story that connects them. They've stopped aiming for perfection right out of the gate and started iterating. They're basically working with their eyes wide open. Ultimately, by really mastering these elements, grounding yourself in understanding, learning from your failures, asking great questions, and seeing the flow of ideas, you don't just get better at thinking. You fundamentally change who you are as a thinker. So I'll just leave you with this question. What's one small thing you can do, starting today, to begin that change? Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.